This is export sales for Thursday, September 25th. We're going to start out here with corn. Export sales for corn above expectations, really strong number, 75.7 million bushels. That was pretty far above any expected guess. One thing that is new now, corn sales at the third week of September is now the highest ever at this time, with over 1 billion bushels now on the books for this new crop. So corn exports very clearly off to a strong start, and with expectations 2.975 billion, it's going to need to be. But with this strong of numbers already on the books, sales going forward need to average about 37.9 million bushels to meet those expectations. Comparing that towards last year's number going forward to 44.5 million, it's looking like corn could very easily reach that all-time record and maybe even exceed it. We'll have to wait and see. Big reason behind that, as a lot of people know, border for cattle is shut between Mexico and the U.S. due to New World screwworm, and a lot of cattle is still down there in Mexico, and they don't have a way to feed them, so they're having to buy a lot of corn to keep that cattle fed. So Mexico continuing to be a huge buyer of U.S. corn. So looking at overall sales this week, we're led very clearly by Mexico, and then decent amount of sales to unknown, and then Colombia. So pretty usual buyers there, nothing really unexpected, except we'll have to wait and see what the unknown sales turn out to be. Moving over to the soy complex, pretty mixed bag this week. Beans had sales of 26.6 million bushels. That was on the lower side of expectations, but not a big disappointment by any means. One thing that was new, Argentina's export tax dilemma, where they took off all export taxes for grains and oil seeds, definitely hurt the U.S. market, as China bought reportedly up to 20 cargoes worth of beans from Argentina, and that's going to tide them by longer from having to buy U.S. beans. This export tax change has already been taken off here this morning, so that's already gone, but it did buy China more time and is likely going to hurt bean sales and the possibility of getting something done with China sooner rather than later. So for now, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Going forward on beans, sales need to average about 25.6 million per week. Sales went to normal customers for this week as well. Taiwan, Mexico, Egypt, unknown, pretty usual buyers. Unknown, still very clearly not China, so we'll have to wait and see who that turns out to be. Going to the meal side of things, sales are pretty disappointing, just 146.6 thousand tons of new crop sales. Old crops finishing up next week, so they had sales slightly positive there, but nothing really exciting. So meal gonna have to step up the game a little bit as it switches over to new crop. We'll have to see if that can change. So finishing up here on the soy complex, bean oil saw old crop sales that got rolled into new crop. So old crop, pretty large cancellation, 23.3 thousand tons canceled, but new crop with pretty massive sales of 53.2 thousand tons, which is a huge week. So very clearly there are some sales that were rolled and then some fresh new sales as well. So overall there on the oil side of things, we'll have to run the math on old crop, but it looks like oil will not quite meet the USDA expectations on that. So that'll be important to look at as we finish up old crop. Finishing out here with wheat, sales pretty solid, 19.8 million bushels. Wheat's just continuing to be steady and run solid numbers. Going forward, sales need to average 9.8 million bushels per week to meet the USDA expectations of 900 million bushels. So wheat's just continuing strong and doing what it's needing to do. So not really much to add on to that. Sales were to pretty normal customers there as well this week. So that is it for export sales here on Thursday, September 25th.
This material has been prepared by a sales or trading employee or agent of Midwest Market Management and is in the nature of a solicitation. This material is not a research report prepared by of Midwest Market Management Research Department. By accepting this communication, you agree that you are an experienced user of the futures markets, capable of making independent trading decisions, and agree that you are not and will not rely solely on this communication in making trading decisions. Distribution in some jurisdictions may be prohibited or restricted by law. Persons in possession of this communication indirectly should inform themselves about and observe any such prohibition or restrictions. To the extent that you have received this communication indirectly and solicitations are prohibited in your jurisdiction without registration, the market commentary in this communication should not be considered a solicitation. The risk of loss in trading futures and/or options is substantial, and each investor and/or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated by simulated historical tests of strategies, is not indicative of future results. Trading advice is based on information taken from trades and statistical services and other sources that of Midwest Market Management believes are reliable. We do not guarantee that such information is accurate or complete, and it should not be relied upon as such. Trading advice reflects our good faith judgment at a specific time and is subject to change without notice. There is no guarantee that the advice we give will result in profitable trades.